Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers. Is Taylor's broken heart syndrome real reason Ridge chose her over Brooke? The Bold and the Beautiful B&B spoilers reveal that Ridge Forrester, Thorsten Cade, recently made a huge romantic decision. But we have to ask, is Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, broken heart syndrome the real reason Ridge chose her over Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang? After Brooke made her reunion pitch, Ridge's response didn't exactly make Taylor seem like the great love of his life. B&B fans heard a lot about Ridge's commitment to Taylor, but honoring a commitment doesn't mean she's the woman he truly wants. That honestly made it sound like Ridge would have taken Brooke back if he hadn't already committed to Taylor. In other words, Ridge is in too deep to back out now, and there may be a very good reason why. When Rebecca Budig first appeared as a Taylor recast, B&B kicked off a story where Taylor thought she was dying of heart failure. Ridge was quite concerned about Taylor when he thought he was going to lose her forever. Of course, additional testing revealed that Taylor was suffering from broken heart syndrome instead. That obviously wasn't as serious, but it still left Ridge feeling guilty for his role in breaking Taylor's heart and contributing to her condition. Ridge was incredibly supportive of Taylor on her path to healing, so how can he possibly shatter her heart all over again? It would be cruel for Ridge to pull the rug out from under Taylor after making her believe they were going to live happily ever after. Since when has Ridge ever cared about commitment anyway? Ridge is impulsive and has had no problem jumping from woman to woman in the past. Maybe Ridge is simply reluctant to jump back to Brooke now because it'd mean crushing Taylor's dreams and devastating her. It could launch another medical crisis for Taylor when she's been doing so well. Ridge may not be willing to do that to Taylor, at least not at this point in the story. It's probably worse to give Taylor false hope. But that may be what Ridge is doing if he's ultimately going to surrender to Brooke down the road. Whatever the case, Ridge wasn't giving off happy vibes after picking Taylor over Brooke. It felt more like Ridge simply thought he was doing the right thing, perhaps mostly for the sake of Taylor's health. If Ridge's true motives for being with Taylor involve protecting her from more medical drama, she may figure that out eventually. Taylor's been making predictions about her future with Ridge, but everything could fall apart sooner or later. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say Ridge and Brooke may not be over for good, so stay tuned for updates on any other major romantic news. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers. Is Taylor's broken heart syndrome the real reason Ridge chose her over Brooke? For years, viewers of The Bold and the Beautiful have watched as Ridge Forrester was caught in a tumultuous love triangle between two of the most prominent women in his life, Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes. The relationship dynamics between these three characters have kept fans on the edge of their seats, speculating over Ridge's true feelings and wondering which woman would ultimately win his heart. But what if the decision that Ridge made wasn't entirely driven by love, passion, or even his long-standing history with these two women? What if the real reason Ridge chose Taylor over Brooke was because of something far more physical, and yet undeniably emotional, than any romantic declaration? Enter Taylor's broken heart syndrome, a condition that has swept through recent Bold and the Beautiful storylines, catching fans by surprise. But is it possible that this diagnosis is more than just a plot twist? Could it be the very thing that swayed Ridge's heart in Taylor's favor, convincing him that the woman he needed to be with, the woman he must support, is Taylor and not Brooke? What is broken heart syndrome? Known medically as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, broken heart syndrome is a real and serious condition. It occurs when an individual experiences a sudden, intense emotional or physical stress, which causes the heart to temporarily weaken and stop functioning as it should. While often linked to grief, loss, or extreme emotional trauma, broken heart syndrome can mimic the symptoms of a heart attack. However, unlike a traditional heart attack, it is usually reversible with proper care. It's not just an abstract, medical plot device. In fact, recent Bold and the Beautiful episodes have shown Taylor's heart condition becoming a focal point of her story arc. After experiencing intense emotional strain related to her tumultuous relationship with Ridge, Taylor began experiencing physical chest pains, which were later diagnosed as broken heart syndrome. The diagnosis added an entirely new dimension to her character's in mere romantic longing, but in a very real, physical manifestation of emotional pain. Ridge's history with Brooke and Taylor. Throughout the years, Ridge has had a complicated relationship with both Brooke and Taylor. His attraction to Brooke is undeniable. They have had passionate, whirlwind romances, an undeniable chemistry, and years of shared history. Brooke has always been there for Ridge, but so has Taylor, who has also had her own history with him. Taylor, a trained psychologist and a woman of great intellect, has always tried to help Ridge and offer him the kind of emotional stability he sometimes struggles to find. Yet despite their closeness, Ridge has often found himself torn between the two women. In the past, Ridge's choices seemed to sway with the wind. At times, he was drawn to Taylor's nurturing nature, and at other times, it was Brooke's fiery, adventurous spirit that ignited his passions. However, as the love triangle continued to play out, it was clear that Ridge was often conflicted and indecisive about who he truly wanted to build a future with. That indecision has led to some deeply painful moments for all involved, and for viewers, it created a dramatic tension that kept them eagerly watching to see how Ridge's decisions would unfold. The turning point. Taylor's broken heart syndrome. When Taylor began experiencing symptoms of broken heart syndrome, it brought new stakes to the situation. Ridge, who had already been feeling guilt over his wavering affections, suddenly found himself facing a serious crisis involving the woman he had always considered a pillar of strength. The woman who had been the calm in his storm was now struggling with her own health, her own emotional fragility. This vulnerability was not something Ridge could ignore. Ridge's immediate reaction to Taylor's diagnosis was one of profound concern. He couldn't stand to see the woman he had been so close to suffering, especially when her emotional distress had triggered such a dangerous physical reaction. It was clear that this development would force Ridge to confront his feelings in a way he hadn't before. But was this concern truly enough to make him choose Taylor over Brooke? A deeper emotional connection. For Ridge, the decision to choose Taylor might have gone beyond mere sympathy. The diagnosis of broken heart syndrome seemed to represent something deeper, a manifestation of Taylor's love for Ridge that had been, for so long, unrequited. Taylor had been through many heartaches, but none quite as heartbreaking as Ridge's inability to commit to her. The emotional turmoil she had endured throughout their years together, coupled with the many times she had been forced to watch Ridge choose Brooke over her, took its toll. Could her broken heart be a reflection of all the pain she had endured from Ridge's indecisiveness? As viewers, we saw Ridge grapple with this dilemma. Was he choosing Taylor because of a deep-seated guilt over the way he had treated her? Was he driven by a sense of duty to protect her now that she was vulnerable? Or did his decision reflect a deeper emotional truth, one that perhaps had been masked by years of emotional complexity? Could Ridge have finally come to realize that his true connection to Taylor ran deeper than just a passing love story? After all, sometimes it's the heartbreaks that reveal our true hearts. Brooke's reaction and Ridge's internal conflict. Brooke, always a fierce and independent woman, was not going to go down without a fight. Her reaction to Ridge's decision was a mixture of hurt, disbelief, and indignation. She couldn't understand how he could choose Taylor, especially given the history they shared. Brooke had always seen herself as Ridge's soulmate, the one who had always been there for him, the one he could count on. Yet in this moment of crisis, she felt abandoned. Ridge's choice felt like a betrayal of everything they had built together. For Ridge, the situation became even more complicated. His love for Brooke was undeniable, but his concern for Taylor's well-being forced him to look beyond his own emotional desires. Could it be that Ridge truly saw his choice as one of love for Taylor, yes, but also one of responsibility? A man who had been in the center of the storm for so long might finally be realizing that Taylor's heart wasn't the only one broken in their relationship. In choosing her, was Rich trying to heal his own heart as well as hers? The conclusion: Rich's true motivation. In the end, Rich's decision to choose Taylor over Brooke may not have been based solely on her medical condition. But Taylor's broken heart syndrome forced him to see her in a new light. A light that showed just how fragile and vulnerable she had become. The diagnosis was not the sole catalyst for Ridge's decision, but it acted as the final emotional push he needed to confront the feelings he had buried for so long.